is CTV. Don't blink.
In the news tonight, family, friends and lawyers of MP Sejirinya and Sewanyana demand for swift justice after a whole year.
It was unequivocal. He said, I am starting with this particular matter.
World leaders continue to jet in for the final send-off of Queen Elizabeth II. And controversial three-day festival finally comes to an end on a high note. In sports, West Nile Province thumps Kampala Province 4-0 in first leg at the Greenlight Stadium.
That was the lead. Muhammad Shabbat finds a brace.
Good evening, thank you for joining PM Edition on CTV. I'm Kalachi Brian with Isaac Luchams for your sign language interpretation. If you missed the controversial collective Nyege Nyege Festival, do not worry, I have you covered. Tonight I have all the highlights. Before we go to Nyege Nyege, let's start with relatives and friends and lawyers of detained legislators of Alan Sewanyana of Makindye East and Muhammad Sejirinya of Kawempe North, who are demanding for swift justice and release of lawmakers who have been in detention for over a year now. The pleas were made at a special held service in Kampala to pray for the legislators who are currently in incarceration. More from Sarah Nakandi.
It has been 1 year since the arrest of Kawempe North MP Muhammad Sejirinya and Alan Sewanyana of Makindye West. The two are currently facing charges of murder, attempt murder, and terrorism in connection with the Machete murders that took place in the Greater Masaka region. To this date, the hearing of the case involving the MPs has not yet started, and it is also against this backdrop that friends, relatives, and colleagues of the incarcerated legislators, led by their lawyer, Lord Mayor of Kampala, have gathered to pray for the souls of the detained lawmakers. The special prayers today took place at St. Agnes Church in Kibuye. The prayers were led by Reverend Father Joseph Lugobe, who urged people to fight for justice.
Tobeera mwesigwa mu byokola wabaawo akasattiro, wabaawo omuntu okuba nga takyakuteeka mu bwesige tayinza kwesiga. Omusajja ono muwulidde bw'asattira, yali akoze n'ab'endagaano n'aleeta babeere nga bagikuutiza batawandiikawo birala. Obwesige kigambo kikulu.
While speaking to journalists after the service, the lawyer of the two legislators, Elias Lukwago, urged the newly appointed Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mao, to fulfill his promise.
Mr. Norbert Mao, please don't eat your words. You made a commitment. The whole country is looking up to that particular statement you made, that you are going to handle this matter expeditiously. You even visited the families, actually, for your information. He visited the mother to Sejirinya.
According to Lukwago, they have pushed for expeditious trials. Unfortunately, they have been denied, hence the need for divine intervention.
All we need is divine intervention. We have tried our best. All the systems are failing us. We sought for bail. It was granted. They paid the 40 million, but those who wield the power overturned the decision of court.
Now Sejirinya and Sewanyana's lawyers, friends and relatives are now demanding for the law to prevail.
has been said about entrenching rule of law in this country, Chief Justice, Principal Judge, it shouldn't be sloganeering. We should mean it. It should be one of our core values. So if they have spent a year in jail and the state claimed they concluded the investigations, what is it that is stopping the hearing from taking off? What is it that is stopping the state from adducing the evidence that they claim it's near positive?
National Unity Platform Secretary General David Lewis Lubongoya has expressed dismay with the manner in which the case has been handled and the approach by the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs.
I don't think Norbert Mao even knows what is going on, and he will realize it soon because he calls himself a Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, but we have not had him come out to talk about the ongoing abductions and illegal arrests. The drones are back. People are being abducted.
Other people in attendance, including the Machindia East MP, Derek Nyeko, have spoken against the injustice.
We are not going to allow politicians that play on people's minds. They must be honest and to take up the obligation given to them with their people independently.
According to the lawyers of the two legislators, they are now waiting for the case to return to the court on 20th of this month for hearing, with hopes that justice will finally prevail after a long year detention. Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM Edition.
The State Minister for Works, Musa Echeru, has apologized for the broken road network currently being experienced in many parts of the country. According to Minister Echeru, many roads and bridges have been destroyed by the heavy rains and floods in some parts of the country. Take a look.
According to the State Minister for Works, Musa Echeru, who pitched camp in Chigezi sub-region, majority of the road works and construction was affected by the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, which drained government resources.
I want the country to know that these roads had been assessed before. What delayed work was when we went into the COVID crisis, so everything was put at mark time.
Minister Echeru also revealed that heavy downpours and floods in many parts of the country during the rainy season has devastated many bridges and roads. The minister also revealed that heavy rains have also cut off communication to majority installations like hospitals.
The bad weather, particularly the extreme weather conditions that have characterized the entire country, have not spared Kigezi, particularly given its topography. Most of the bridges have been washed off. Most of the facilities that are critical, like health centers, are not accessible.
The minister also assessed the road damage caused by heavy rains and also addressed leaders in Chigezi sub-region.
I have seen by myself the problem of the road. It leads to the hospital. It passes into the heart of your municipality. I am going back to tell His Excellency the President, and then we look for money for fixing this road.
Businessmen are stuck. They can't cross, bringing their timber from this side to the other side. They are stuck. So it's really necessary to really plan and get a solution for this bridge.
Minister Echeru also added that the little money that had been earmarked for the suffering of some roads in rural areas, more especially in Chisoro district, was misappropriated.
But so I don't want you to say, oh, the money was eaten, no money was stolen from here. They are to do quality work there, but they are also going to do this road. This one I can assure you. So it was a mistake for anybody to put in our program, in one of our lists.
The State Minister for Works has promised to share with the people and government the challenge people of Kisoro face because of heavy trucks which ferry relief goods to the refugee camps.
Unfortunately, when we're discussing those areas that are benefiting from the refugee window of World Bank, Kisoro wasn't captured because sometimes it is just on a transit area. The Nyakabande is but now the place which was supposed to be a transit area is almost like a permanent home for refugees. So I am also going to share with my colleagues.
Chisoro currently has an influx of refugees, especially those coming in from the recessive Democratic Republic of Congo. Many of these refugees are currently staying at Nyakabande Refugee Reception Center.
The National Drug Authority has kick-started operations to regulate and enforce the use of herbal medicine in the Ankole region. The move is geared towards making sure that counterfeit and fake herbal medicines are not on the market. Here is more.
As Uganda prepares to celebrate the African Traditional Medicines Day at the end of the month, the National Drug Authority (NDA) has going to organize a series of workshops in the Ankole region to create awareness on the use of herbal medicine and counterfeits on the market. According to Haji Jamiru Lutakome from Uganda Herbalist Association, they have been lacking a legal framework to guide the practice and also the issue of imposters in the profession.
Lacking a legal framework to guide the practice has been a very big challenge. And two, there are so many people who have come into the sector having the knowledge of charging money, consulting things of that kind. So, but we want to ensure that those people who have been doing it should stop.
According to the National Drug Authority, this move is geared towards improving service delivery, especially among the herbalists.
There are some with some good medicine, but packaging is very poor, hygiene is very poor. And you talked about also hiding information. It's also very important. So when we assure them through the law that there is no problem.
The National Drug Authority says that it will continue with this investigation after the training and also check some of the places where the herbal medicines are manufactured.
We are going to go ahead and visit the manufacturing premises so that we can further provide them capacity building to see how best their premises can be improved and how the quality of the products they are going to manufacture is better enhanced. This is from buying medicines from hawkers, as NDA cannot confirm the quality and safety of those medicines. We encourage them to buy medicines from NDA licensed premises.
According to a report by the Public Partnership for Health, over 60% of Ugandans rely on herbal medicine. Bashir Omar, CTV, PM Edition.
President Joe Biden and other dignitaries are arriving in London for the funeral, to which around 500 royals, heads of state and heads of government are expected to attend. World leaders began gathering in London from Saturday for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Police are mounting Britain's biggest ever security operation for Monday's funeral. Details.
Britain is gearing to the momentous state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II and King Charles III, the oldest monarchy ever to ascend to the throne, prepared to host the world's leaders.
So I hope you might see them. I hope tomorrow. I hope to have certainly nothing else.
U.S. President Joe Biden flew in late Saturday, accompanied by First Lady Jill Biden. One of the dozens of heads of state arriving as Britain stages its biggest ever policing operation around the historic funeral for the longest reigning monarchy. Members of the royal family across Europe have confirmed that they are attending, including Spain's King Felipe IV and Queen Letizia, the previous Spanish King and Queen Juan Carlos and Sophie, Denmark's Queen Margarita II and her heir crown, Prince Frederick, will also be attending. Royal household from Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands and Belgium have all confirmed that they will be traveling to London for the funeral. Among the national leaders in Europe who have confirmed their attendance is French President Emmanuel Macron. On Thursday, he wrote on his Twitter that the link between France and the United Kingdom is unbreakable.
With her passing, we all feel an emptiness.
Chinese Vice President Wang Qishan is expected to attend, angering some of the British lawmakers who were banned from traveling to China last year after they criticized Beijing's mistreatment of Muslims, which China denied. Pope Francis has said he will not be present at the funeral service and will instead send a senior representative from the Vatican. Invitations to the funeral were sent to the heads of states nearly every country in the world except Syria, Venezuela, Afghanistan, Russia, and Myanmar. The death of Queen Elizabeth, aged 96 on September 8th, after 7 decades on the throne, has sparked an outpouring of emotion that has seen hundreds of thousands of people flock to see her coffin laying in the state of the British Parliament. Queen Elizabeth's funeral, the first in Britain since the death of her first Prime Minister Winston Churchill in 1965, will take place tomorrow at Westminster Abbey in London at 1 p.m. East African time before her coffin is transported to St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle for the final rest. Following the funeral service, the Queen's coffin will be drawn into a walking procession from Westminster Abbey to Wellington Arch, then transferred to the new State House for its final journey to Windsor Castle. The service is expected to come to an end at about 6:45 p.m. That evening, at a private family service, the Queen will be buried together with her late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, at the King George IV Memorial Chapel located inside St. George's Chapel.
We shall have to go for a short break before we return with events and the highlights of it at Nyege Nyege.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Nico? If I had to live everywhere I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be alive again.
I will break you, Spooky.
Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. It's your brain!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink.
You're watching PM Edition on CTV. Now, the Nyege Nyege Festival in Jinja has finally come to an end after 3 consecutive days of partying by revelers. The festival, which brought together people from different parts of the world, saw people enjoy and make merry in one of the most popular events on the Ugandan calendar. Take a look.
The controversial Nyege Nyege Festival has for the last 3 days been going on at Itanda Falls in Jinja, where thousands of people have been in attendance. The festival this time around was not short of unique acts such as the performance from the Burundian troupe, which drew the attention of many. Despite the government outcry against indecency and the dress code, many people were seen dressing up as they wish in the skimpy outfits, partying away for 3 consecutive nights. It was party and drinks galore from dusk till dawn all throughout the night.
My third time. I always do nyege nyege. I like the fun, I like the crowd, I like how it's different. I like how the energy, like if you know, you know.
This is my first time and it's an experience, one of a kind experience. You know, East Africa and biggest, you know, this is like the biggest event this side, so it's good to see many people from all over the world. You know, music, culture, fun, love.
I said, what's up, nyege nyege? I think you guys are okay. Let's start the party right now.
At night, popular artists took to the stage to entertain the happy revelers and the people in attendance from different parts of the world.
You ready, sexy ladies? Sing along!
You're pretty dope, but I'm ill too. Copy, I made it, and I ain't need no Illuminati. Copy, pushing it down. You know, but like I did, keep for summer. She's so faithful, I can leave the band.
After long nights of singing along and dancing, many people were seen in the morning diving into the River Nile for a quick shower before heading out again for another round of partying. Foreign best disc jockeys were seen merrymaking and mixing different hits for the revelers. And for those selling crafts, business did not take off as earlier hoped. According to the organizers and founders, they are happy that the event is finally taking place after a 2-year hiatus.
We had 5 physical editions here in Jinja. Then we had 2-year hiatus due to COVID. And now we've restarted with a new location, about 5 times the size of the former location. Nyege Nyege is now an institution, you know, in terms of representing African music culture.
A week to the event, the Parliament of Uganda tried to block the festival after lawmakers accused organizers of promoting immorality, but the decision was overturned by the executive arm of government, which gave organizers a green light, but with tight restrictions. Sohail Mugabe, CTV PM edition.
Welcome back if you attended. Well, in West Africa, His Excellency Macky Sall, President of Senegal, has appointed a new Prime Minister, a position he had abolished in 2019. And in Kenya, a mass was held in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. Congregants expressed their concerns about the lady's failure to acknowledge the atrocities the British troops committed in Kenya. Senegal President Macky Sall on Saturday named a new Prime Minister, a position he abolished in 2019 and reinstated last year after July's 10th legislative elections. A presidential decree named Amadou Ba, a former foreign minister, as the new premier of the divided country, 5 days after the return of parliament, which was marked by a series of incidents and carried out under heavy security. Ba served under Sall as finance minister between 2013 and 2019 before becoming foreign minister in 2019 until 2020. Sall promised to appoint a figure from the winning party in the polls. His coalition narrowly won the election but was only able to keep its absolute majority with the support of an opposition MP. In a speech to the nation broadcast on Friday, Sal said the new Prime Minister would be responsible for addressing the rising cost of living. Sal, 60, was elected in 2012 for 7 years, then re-elected in 2019 for another 5. When Sal removed the premier role, the opposition and parts of civil society denounced his attempt to seize greater power. Concerns over his rule persist, and some accuse him of wanting to break the 2-term limit and run again in 2024. Authorities on Friday banned a concert due to be held on Saturday and organized by civil society groups promoting limited mandates in Africa because of what authorities said were the risks of unrest triggering a wave of anger on social media. Sal has also fallen out with a key figure in his camp, former Prime Minister Aminata Mimi Toure, who was not chosen to lead the National Assembly and has since denounced injustice. Kenya church service in memory of Queen Elizabeth II was held in a church in a Kenyan town of Narumoru in Nyeri County on Saturday. Like many other former British colonies, Kenya has a complicated relationship with the monarchy. We must celebrate her as a human being, mother and grandmother to her family, but at the same time, we must state that she has never acknowledged or apologized for the atrocities that were visited upon our parents and grandparents when they were demanding their freedom, said George Omowe, a lawyer who attended the service. He was referring to the Mau Mau rebellion against British colonial rule, during which many Kenyans say they were beaten and sexually assaulted by officers acting for the British administration. St. Philip's Church is where the late Queen worshipped as a princess before ascending to the throne. In 2013, Kenya declared the church a national monument. The Queen was head of state in Kenya from 1963 to 1964 when the country was an independent sovereign state and visited on her honeymoon. US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has visited Armenia days after deadly clashes with Azerbaijan erupted, leaving hundreds dead. And a US report points out glaring weaknesses shared by the Chinese and Russian militaries. It says all US Army officers are more cross-trained compared to their counterparts in China and Russia. How true that is, we will find out. Days after deadly clashes broke out between Armenia and Azerbaijan that killed over 215 people, US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Armenia on Saturday for a 3-day official visit. In the process, she became the highest-ranking US official to visit the transcontinental country since it gained independence in 1991. Taking to Twitter, Pelosi informed about her visit and stated it was a symbol of Washington's commitment to a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic Armenia. Today, I am leading a congressional delegation to Armenia to highlight the strong commitment of the United States to security, economic prosperity and democratic governance in Armenia and the Caucasus region, she tweeted. Pelosi asserted that it was President Biden that formally acknowledged the Armenian genocide, and she, alongside her congressional delegation, was proud to travel to Yerevan. Adding that we shouldn't forget the Armenian genocide, Pelosi said it is the moral duty of all to never forget, an obligation that has taken on a heightened urgency as atrocities are perpetrated around the globe, including by Russia against Ukraine. Reportedly, Pelosi was received by the head of the Armenian National Assembly, Alen Simonyan, at the international airport outside of Yerevan. Simonyan remained optimistic that Pelosi's visit will play a big role in ensuring Yerevan's security. A report by the U.S. National Defense University has identified a potential weakness shared by the Chinese and Russian militaries. According to the report, the top officers across the 5 services, that is, Army, Navy, Air Force, Rocket Force, and Strategic Support Force of both the countries, lack operational experience in any branch other than the one they started their careers from. Meaning, the soldiers of China's People's Liberation Army, PLA, stay as soldiers, sailors remain sailors, and airmen stay airmen. They are not given cross-training unlike the US military, where since 1986, the forces are trained in other combat modes. CNN reported it further states that a lack of cross-training can emerge as a possible Achilles heel within the People's Liberation Army. However, analysts are wary of underestimating China's capabilities. The 73-page report states this might be the reason why Russia is facing setbacks in Ukraine and why China might share a similar fate if it wages war like Russia. Operational commanders who never needed to gain a high level of understanding of logistics or maintenance might fail to use those forces optimally, paralleling another Russian failure in 2022. Making a comparison of 4-star rank commanders in 2021, such as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs or the head of Indo-Pacific Command in the United States, or leaders of the Central Military Commission or theater commands in China, the report found that all the 40 US officers had joint service experience compared to the 77% of their 31 Chinese equivalents. It pointed out another key difference. While almost all the 4-star commanders in the US had operational experience, in China, only half were professional political commissars. The international wrap takes us for a short break. When we return, sports news.